I've been walking a tightrope between fact and fiction. Been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons. Been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian, but shouting at leaders.
I ask a million questions. I want to find out a million answers. I don't want to rubber stamp something. I want to make sure that I know everything. And then that goes back to my education. The doctorate, I read research papers. We share emails all the time. I am just a sponge. I am not stubborn. I want to absorb and know everything I can. I want to be right. I want to be the smartest person in the room. And again, that's an asset. I'm not stubborn. I'm open to new ideas. If somebody comes to the city council and they say they want to put up a wind turbine, or they have an idea about the lake water or about the debt, please tell me what it is. I'd like to hear it. And if, for those of you who don't live in the city, you have friends that live in the city, you have neighbors that live in the city, you can let them know that Josh Tarbay is running for city council. You can let them know that the people who are in there now, it's time for somebody else, okay? I like to say it's my turn. We should all be doing our best, and I know everybody in this room is, but when I say all, I think all of us should do more. On my business, on the card I have, it says, let's increase the voter turnout on the back. You know, it doesn't say, you know, I'm the best man, this and that. I mean, this is what I'm trying to do. Let's try to educate the people. Let's try to increase the voter turnout, even if you don't want to vote for me. No way can Weatherford represent itself if we're not voting, if we're not choosing, if we don't know who the candidates are. And right now, nobody votes. It's a few people. And I'd like to have your votes. I'd like to have you spread the word. And again, we can start it right now. If you have any questions, if there's something you'd like to know that I've been able to find out, I will share it. I'll let you know. I'm an open book. I'll tell you what's going on, and together we can kind of make the right choice. I don't know if anybody has any topics with Weatherford. Cecil has lived here for us. Some of you have lived here your whole life. I mean, if there's something on your mind, ask me. Yes?
After the approval of alcohol sales, did the city increase revenues, or do you know?
Eric, do you know that one? Does the city increase revenues after alcohol sales?
It has made
It's very recent.
it's made an impact. It's kind of a little bit early to be able to measure the results of that, but it has had an impact. Now, you know, alcohol sales is another issue for some folks. Some folks don't like alcohol, you know, and they'd rather not have that in their city, but unfortunately that's, you know, sometimes happens. You know, businesses come in, as the city grows, you're going to have more and more, you know, influx of business. And so what you got to do is plan, you know, have the proper planning and zoning in a city, and make sure all your liquor stores and things are not next to churches and schools. And, you know, matter of fact, there was one big issue of that. There was a restaurant, Fat Daddy's, that they were going to have, and that a particular establishment wanted to go in where the old Super Save location was on South Main. And they did some research on that, the city did, but they were supposed to properly notify, you know, all the residents around that area, and that was not done. And there was a lot of folks that came to that city council meeting when they were going to have a vote on that. So as a result, you know, it didn't pass. But the main issue was people's concerns about establishments like that being next to schools, churches. So I think that, you know, we don't need to have this hodgepodge planning going on. You need to sit down and take some time and you know, research it and make sure that businesses, you know, go where they're supposed to go. You know,
has it even been a year since the alcohol sales? I mean, I don't know if that revenue. When was that special election? When was that?
Close to 2 years.
Is it okay? Jeez, been that long? Because the Weatherford Marina just got alcohol. I mean, when they passed that, they were able to get it.
It's probably been about, well, it's probably been a year and a half.
Okay, yeah, about a year.
Something like that.
But the liquor stores and stuff down just opened last.
Yeah, a lot
And
of
that's true. There was a disconnect you went between when they were allowed to apply for it, wait their period to be reviewed by the state, and then again. That's
what the issue was in the liquor stores is to sell like your hard liquors, you know, like your whiskeys, bourbons, and that type of thing. You have to have a special permit. That takes a little longer to get versus being able to sell like, you know, wine or beer and that type of thing. So that's the reason why you're seeing some of these liquor stores, you know, start to come in. You know, they've just now been able to get their permits and everything to allow them to be able to sell that kind of alcohol in the city. So
Yeah,
Are those,
question.
alcohol revenues anywhere in the book?
You didn't see it in there?
I'm looking for it.
Oh, okay.
I did have one, and you may have already addressed this with these guys, this may be something these guys have talked about, but this is just my second meeting. There's over 400 cities in the United States that have chosen and documented that they're not gonna honor the USA Patriot Act. If their police force are told to arrest citizens and things like that, they're gonna basically say, stick it.
Yep. No, on my website, I have that as one of the issues, and it's more than just the Patriot Act. To try to make it sound, you could just say stick it to the Patriot Act, but the way these other cities have done it is they've worded their ordinance to any unconstitutional federal mandates, which includes,
The Patriot.
if you're a believer and a reader and a follower and knowledgeable about the Constitution, includes the Patriot Act.
Absolutely.
So I would like to see, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think this is something that just has Weatherford stand up, that requires leadership, and we say that, why not? I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? Even if you're, whatever you're for, if it's an unconstitutional mandate, we're against it. Everybody is, right? 100% of us should be against unconstitutional mandates. It sounds scary, so it has to be worded correctly, it has to be presented correctly, because it's not scary. All it's saying is, you're not telling us what to do, we're gonna decide. We all know how to read the Constitution, and if it ain't in there, we ain't doing it.
Right.
There's strings attached, financial, so there's a big issue to it, but at least the ordinance could get on the books.
Gosh dang piece of paper.
Yeah, right. But it can be on, the purpose is to get it on the books, is to join, that's another, I started off.
Solidarity.
Yeah,
With the other
we started off
cities
talking
and-
about how we're all involved with the national and the city and national and the state, and the election numbers show it, right? Who votes the most in this country, for their local elections or for their national elections? National elections, you can go right down the line. Who votes more, for national elections or for state elections? It's the national elections. The voter turnout is always higher, and then it's the lowest for the local city elections. It's lowest when you have a special election or an individual local city election, or no one else is on the ballot. So I mean, right down the line, the things that come closer and closer and closer to home, we vote and we participate less and less and less. Now, to get back to what can we do, let's talk, there is, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, many cities with some large cities. San Diego is one of the largest ones. I don't know if they're traditionally conservative or Democrat or liberal or whatever they are, but San Diego is one of the largest ones that have passed this ordinance. I don't know if they've had to enforce it, I don't know, but they've passed this ordinance to stop the unconstitutional federal mandates, that their city will not, they will stand behind their sheriffs or their police force rather, and say, we will back you and we will make sure that as long as you're doing what's right and what's legal, then you listen to us.
Good.
And there's ways, I gotta look more into it, but that is something that's on my website, that's something I'd like
That to me is a huge issue, and I think if you're willing to make that part of your platform, it may get you some votes.
Yeah, well, I'd like to, this was on, I mean, Chad can account for this, right? He saw it on my platform. This is something that I heard about via YouTube. It might have been, Carrie might have sent it, or Chad or Laura might have sent it, and it was this guy talking about how all these different cities have already joined on. And they've been doing it for a while. We're talking now, it's 2010. I mean, they've been doing this probably since 2004, 2003, 2000. When was the Patriot Act? 2000?
It was right after 9/11.
Okay, so 2001. So they've been doing it almost right after then. So this has been going on for about 9 years.
It's
So-
over 400 cities now, I believe.
It might be,
The
yeah.
last I heard.
Oh, yeah. And all you have to do is contact these cities, get the paperwork, and then submit it as your own. And it's more of a gesture than anything else, because it will be difficult to enforce.
Yes.
But nonetheless, do whatever you can.
But yes, because there's a solidarity with all them, if it was
Absolutely.
20, that'd be one thing, but there's 400,
Absolutely.
400 cities in the United States saying,
Yeah.
we disagree with this.
Many of you have heard about the Oath Keepers or some of these other ones.
Yes.
We haven't seen it be tested, or at least not to my knowledge, but at least they're on there. They're showing solidarity. They want to do what's right. They don't want to just be at the whim of a higher power. They want to control their own destiny, right? I mean, what a noble idea.
Yes.
What was your question?
If the federal government were to offer some financing for special projects through stimulus funds, how would you be on that?
First of all, to be specifically honest, I don't know if they offer them to the individual cities. They may. I think it more goes at the state level, and then the state gives us funds, whether we like it or not. It's funds that come in. But obviously, if there was an option or an offer, build a prison with FEMA funds or with federal funds, or I would say no. That would be my vote. I'm just one of 5. But, you know, jobs can't be offset by liberties. The role of government, as we all agree, is very, very, very small. So few jobs, do them very well, deliver the essential services to the people, and that's it. And you'll find you have tons of money left over. But obviously, no, I don't, especially with